Alright, welcome to the channel. My name is Charles Ziegler. I am a landscape photography enthusiast based out of Washington State. This is the first video in this new channel that I'm creating. And this channel, I'm not sure what it will end up being. All I know is it will end up being photography based. So whether that's talking head videos like this, where we talk about camera gear, talk about rumors, talk about photography in general, editing, or whether it's vlog style videos where I take you along out into the field when I do photography, I'm not sure. Probably a combination of all of the above. I just wanted to create a channel where I was doing something photography related. Quick disclaimer, I am not a professional photographer. Like I said before, I'm a photography enthusiast. I've done some professional work. I've done some corporate profile pictures. I have some prints hanging up in buildings, but I have a full-time job doing something else that pays for this habit. I'm someone who loves photography, and this channel is just another way for me to be part of that community. So, with that out of the way, let's talk about something photography related. And everybody seems to be talking about this right now, so I thought I'd join the conversation and talk about the Nikon Z8, which this is Friday, May 5th, and this camera is rumored to be announced on May 10th, next Wednesday. And there's plenty of videos and websites, especially Nikon Rumors, that go over all the different rumored specs and comparisons. So I don't really want to talk about that as much as I want to talk about the rumored price of this camera, which seems to be the biggest mystery that's left. I've heard everything from $3,600 to $5,000 for the price of this camera, with the most consistent rumor being somewhere around $4,200, $4,300. And I think, apologize for all the ums, I think the way that people come to that $4,200, $4,300 is there was a rumored leaked advertisement that had the camera at 45.99 euros, and if you take that and subtract the average value-added tax that they have in Europe and then convert it to US dollars, you get $4,200, $4,300, $4,400. So let's just go off the assumption that this camera is going to be $4,200, and we'll go from there. The other thing that I've noticed is that this camera is consistently being compared to the Canon R5 and the Sony A7 R5. Now, when this camera started to be rumored, the most consistent rumor was that it was going to be a 60 plus megapixel high resolution camera that would have a non-stacked sensor, so it would be probably around the same speed when it comes to frames per second and sensor readout as an A7, or not A7, a Z7 II or an A7R4 from Sony. And if that were the case, then I think the $4,200 price that's being rumored would be a big mistake by Nikon, because the Sony A7R5, which was released recently, is listed at $3,900. And the Canon R5 has recently gone on sale for $3,400 with a free battery grip included. Battery grip included, which is an incredible deal. So if you're comparing this new Z8 with those cameras, then it's hard to justify $4,200 for the Nikon. However, I think that's an unfair comparison. I don't think it's fair to Nikon to compare the Z8 to those cameras, because if the rumored specs are correct and they seem to be more and more solid every day. This camera is essentially a Z9 in a smaller body. So you don't have the battery grip with the larger battery, and you don't have the two CF Express B Type B card slots, which both of those have their advantages. But everything else seems to be the same. If the rumors are true, you still have 20 frames per second raw images. You still have 30 frames per second high resolution JPEGs, 120 frames per second small JPEGs, incredible video specs up to 8.3K 60 frames per second raw, which is insane, 4K 120. So if this camera can essentially do everything the Z9 can do, but because of the smaller battery and the one CF Express Type B card slot, it maybe has obviously less battery life, but probably less buffer and maybe time limit restraints for recording video. But still, this camera, I think, compares more with the Z9 and maybe the Sony A1 than it does with the Sony A7R5 or the Canon R5. In which case, the Nikon Z9 sells for $5,500, the Sony A1 sells for $6,500, so now $4,200 seems like a really good deal. It seems like a steal. Honestly, when the Z9 came out, it looked like an incredible camera, and it was very tempting for me with its next level autofocus for Nikon at least, and 20 frames per second, because even though I'm a landscape photographer, I like to do other forms of photography. I like to do wildlife. I like to shoot my grandkids playing sports. I like to do street photography. So things like autofocus and speed are still appealing to me. And of course the much improved video specs over the other Z cameras was also appealing. But I couldn't justify the price and carrying the weight. I do a lot of hiking for landscape photography. I really didn't want a 3-pound camera. And slightly worse image quality if you factor in the loss of dynamic range because of the electronic only shutter. So I stuck with the Z7 II, which is what I shoot with now. But with the Z8, it looks like you're going to get all of that functionality in a smaller, lighter camera than the Z9 at least. It will still be fairly large for a mirrorless camera if the 960 gram rumor is true. But you get all the other benefits of the Z9 as well, like the sensor shield and the 4-way tilt-in screen, which is incredibly useful for landscape photography at least. I think this becomes a really good value camera depending on what the price ends up being. For me, if this camera is $4,000 or less, I think it's an absolute steal. If it's somewhere between $4,000 and $4,500, I still think it's a really good value, and I'm definitely going to jump on the pre-sale. If it's $4,500 or more, then I'd probably have to think twice about it. Still could be a good deal, depending on how you look at it, but definitely would have to think about it. So I'd love to hear what everybody else thinks in the comments. I'd love to know what you think the price is gonna be, what you think are the cameras out there that compare to what this camera is rumored to be, and if those rumors are correct, what you think a good value price would be for that camera. So if you want to give this video a like, that's great. If not, no worries. and hopefully I will see you all down the road in another video. Thanks for watching and take care.